right. Doesn't look like anyone showed up for now, which is okay. But we can just do a introduction to General Strike, see if people want to get involved. On the live stream, we have the link to the notes. Let's just double check the live stream real quick here. So YouTube, and go to the channel, see if we are live, and we are live. Click on it. If we are live, yeah, we're good. We are live, and we have click on it in the notes. And yeah, here are the notes. So you can link here in the description. There's the link to the notes. So if you go to the notes, you can see in the notes that, oh, I forgot to get the link to the video. So let me just grab the link to the video real quick because we want to link the video to the notes, and then we're going to go and do the intro here. But I will put in the copy clean link. Okay, I think that's right. All right, we'll double check it later. But I'll also put in here, besides the link to the broadcast, also the link to join. So if you want to join us and you're seeing this online, you can join us. So link to recorded meeting. Oh, look, Purple's here. Hey, Purple, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Are you trying to share your screen?
I was. I don't know. I can try to share it again. There's nothing much in it. I mean, it's just the notes and stuff.
Okay.
But I was going to share it just for fun. Awesome. Coolio. Do you want to start with some check-ins? Or you want to just jump in anything? Or
Is it just the two of us?
right now, yeah, it's just the two of us.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were across multiple platforms.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just doing a recording, and usually I record on YouTube, but there is options to record on multiple platforms simultaneously. But in this case, I mean, we're still pretty small. There's no reason to like get that, like, not sleep to get that done, you know. But yeah, we're just GSUS. I mean, this is a pretty, different thing. I mean, I've never really been particularly successful in getting people into public communication spaces. But you would be number 3, so there's me and there's JD and then there's you. But it's just like most people prefer private sessions. The group meeting starts in an hour, and that's going to be our weekly intro meeting. So we can jump into that afterwards if we want to, or we can keep going. But that's typically there's like, I don't know, 30, 50, sometimes over 100 people that come to the introductory meeting. And also if people have questions here, we can do introductory ideas as well. But do you want to do intros at all, or do you want to just jump into some topics, or what do you want to do?
Let's just jump in.
Jump into some topics, okay? So for me, I am open to pretty much anything. But we can also like brainstorm ideas, issues, priorities, topics. I have my brainstorm list that I already did. So if you wanted to add anything, you can kind of just jump in, and we can either prioritize, or we can just jump into a specific idea or topic that we want to do. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, I'm pretty new to all of this, so I'm just trying to jump into as many things as I can to get my feet wet.
Do you need any like intro to the General Strike at all, or because we could start with that, of course.
I mean, I read through the welcome pamphlet or the welcome packet.
Do you have any particular questions? We could just start with like general questions. If you have any questions on anything. General questions. And of course, if I know the answer, sometimes I don't. And then we can ask Day. Day is usually here at the top of the hour. No questions?
I'm looking for a particular slide in the
Okay, yeah, take your time.
Welcome packet.
For me,
Thanks.
my priorities are like anything related to democracy decision making is like my jam. I love talking about democracy. I'm also really big into coalition building, like connecting the bigger picture of like the 5051 movement, the political revolution, indivisible, like even thinking about the global strike, because I'm big time into just open decentralized systems. That's another thing is like just vocabulary on decentralization is like a big thing for me that I love a lot. Oh look, we got Crazy. Hey, what's up, Crazy? We were kind of skipping check-ins, but if we wanted to go back to check-ins, we could. But right now, we're just kind of going through ideas of what our top priorities and issues, ideas, and making sure each person can kind of input. Purple was going through the welcome packet and just trying to find some questions that you might have. So, Crazy, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, sorry. I might be a little bit in and out while I'm here, but um,
do you have any priorities or anything? We also have Fight the Dystopia here.
Hey, just out here. What's up? How's everyone doing?
We're doing good, just getting started. So we're just gonna, we kind of skip the intros. If we want to go back and do check-ins, we can. But right now we're kind of just hearing from each person what your issues, priorities, ideas, what your main things are. For me, I was just saying anything related to democracy, decision making is like my jam, as well as anything coalition related, like connecting to other organizations and groups and international and things like that. But Crazy, did you want to add anything? And then we'll go to Fight the Dystopia.
I guess I am also fairly big on like democracy and such, and that's probably the main thing for me on how we want to organize what sort of proposal we have for the future.
Cool. Nice. Anything you wanted to add? Fight the Dystopia?
I guess maybe I'm confused. I thought we were talking about crypto stuff.
Sure, we can definitely talk about crypto stuff. I'm a big fan of that, but this is a recorded session. It's the first one that we got in plan. Most people, it's hard to get into a recorded session. So if we want to do crypto, we can. I think everything's related, whether it's democracy, decision making, crypto. But I'm down to start with whatever. One of the things we can do if there's multiple interests is we could start with one topic and then kind of go back and forth or go to another topic. And then also we can vote to prioritize the topics and kind of do one and then do the other based on the need. But if we want to start on crypto, I'm totally down for that.
That was not necessarily my suggestion. I was confused for the you answered my question in your answer, but essentially I just want to understand what the goals are, and if the first goal is to talk about what we're passionate about and what we want to talk about.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm Story. I am passionate about all of this. I think that right now for GSUS as like a big project, what I want to focus on is like streamlining education and information and getting people on the same page and connected with their local communities. Like that seems like the biggest first step that we need to get more people comfortable with saying to new folks, hey, this is how we're doing this is what we're doing, this is what we hope you do. And here are the expectations. I want to get all that streamlined. I think that's super important. I mean, if we're talking about democracy are we talking about democracy of the organization or of like the future long-term, if our demands are met, what does that look like? I think those are two different conversations. So I don't know, I'm up for anything. I love, analyzing, problem solving, solution-oriented movement organizing of all kinds. So it doesn't have to be crypto. It could be whatever is at the front of people's minds.
Exactly. Yeah, we're on the same page there. So I put education and streamline information. I think that one of the things related to decision making is there is a proposal on the table to use sortition within GSUS and also supporting helping state chapters that is jumbling into some of the vetting processes and other structural issues that are going on that are complicated, if that makes sense. But yes, all that sounds really good. Let's jump into, also introduce myself real quick. I'm Jay. I'm in California and super excited about anything decentralized, anything movement organizing. I've been doing this for decades, really. So I'm super stoked to be here. And I'm all about public, transparent. Like if we want to transform the world and topple capitalism and do all of these things and get rid of the billionaire class, I feel like it should be transparent, it should be public. It's going to affect everybody in the world. And I'm just really big into having things be accountable to all people. But of course, I also support private space for people who don't want to do that. So it's all about doing both. But anyway, let's go to McDuffie. Do you want to go? And then we can go back to Purple or Crazy if you guys are ready.
I just popped in. It's just introductions, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's kind of like introduction / what are your interests, your topics? Like what, there's some interest in education, streamlining information. There's decision making in general, both related to the what are they called? The demands, as well as just like how we organize and make decisions in GSUS. So, and then of course, crypto and other things about business. So any ideas that you have and you'd love to prioritize, we want to hear.
At the moment, I mostly just want to take my time learning about the rest of the movement at the time right now. And personally, I have been writing up a list of like a couple local organizations and also NPR, my local NPR station. But first, I actually before going through with that, attend a meeting and learn as much as I can.
Nice. Yeah, and if we wanted to do more introduction to general strike, that is something that we could do. Also, at the top of the hour in about 45 minutes, is going to start the meeting for the introduction for all of the GSUS if people are interested in jumping over there, which will just be in the group meeting space, and people also can stay here. So, Purple, did you find that question that you had?
Yeah, so on page 8 of the welcome packet, it has our general list of demands. And I guess what I've been mulling over is if we're reaching out to local groups and trying to encourage them to join this movement, how can we provide them with more specific goals that they would be signing their names to in general? It says once we've reached 6 million pledges, this would be more locked in. But I don't know what everyone's feelings are on having some basic demands locked in a little earlier.
So this is sort of related to what I was talking about with streamlining our educational resources and getting everyone on the same page. I think most of the demands, while they need to be workshopped to figure out exactly what that looks like and get input from a lot of other people, to me, most of those demands are pretty non-negotiable. Some of them you could quibble about the exact language, but ultimately it comes down to we are not willing to keep sacrificing oppressed and marginalized communities and individuals to a system for other people's privilege, comfort, and profit. Nor are we willing to sacrifice the ecosystem. So whatever accomplishes that, whatever words people are most comfortable with, and anything in that direction is in line with what we're doing, right? This is my opinion as a response. I'm a member. I've been here for a while. I'm very active here, but I'm not a mod or I'm not more of an organizer than anyone else in this decentralized thing. But I think that what we're trying to do is make something that is sustainable long-term, community-based. You can't just take out one figurehead or one council and ruin the whole thing, and really serves to give community structure so that we can do other activism. And so when we're connecting with these other activist groups that are focused more on like an immediate protest or a single industry strike, then we can say, okay, what are your needs? If their needs are within line with ours, they don't need to be fighting for everything on our list, right? We can say this group is fighting for climate change, this group is fighting against fighting for trans rights, and we can sort of split that off into things that people are passionate about and good at, and get people behind it supporting each other with like interconnected solidarity. So to me, like GS2S is like a hub for many little pieces all working together and communicating to get this shit done. I don't know, that's my take. I don't want to take over the whole floor though.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
I do agree, though. I think that's the best strategy, is to try to be a hub for many different groups. Also, you know, we know the kind of people we're trying to get, and we know the kind of people that are in those kind of organizations. You know, I think that's, yeah, I agree with the statement.
Needs are going to be different. Like the local needs I have in Massachusetts are different than the local needs of someone in Texas. For everything, from farming to how I'm treated under the law, like all of it is so different. So like each community needs to have a voice, and activists working together there, defining their own needs, you know, and figuring out the language that works best for their own communities.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely complex, and there's so much going on, especially in the context of like let's say we're successful, we have the strike, 11 million people in the United States, also I have my interest in doing 300 million people across the entire world, because a lot of the billionaire class is not confined to a single individual country. But then the question is, what happens after the strike? And after the strike, it's such an interesting concept because there's so many different aspects of like local, like being different in each location. I do feel that even the demands themselves could be tiered. Like you might have national demands, and you might also have demands at a local level, or even within a single industry that is striking, or even a single company, that they have additional demands on top of their overall demands for the country or even the world, right? So I think we might see the demands evolve, especially at local levels, even once the national or global levels get more solidified and more clear. There's a document that I was going to try to look for. I know I have the link somewhere, which is the plan. So there's this 3-step plan, and there's a document that goes into the more details of the 3-step plan. We might even be able to get it out of the link tree. But basically, it's, it has example demands. And as far as I'm concerned, anyone... Yeah.
Jay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but It's on the website front page. If you scroll down, it's like halfway, 2/3 of the way down.
Oh, the link is there?
What you're talking about. Yeah. It's not even a link, it's just part of the front page.
Yeah, but the document that I'm talking about, the document I'm talking about actually goes into drafted demands, as opposed to just listing the general ideas and the sort of general perspective. So there's an actual document that has a list of, like, instead of just like, I call them demand categories. For example, like you're saying, like sustainability or climate justice in general will be a category, but then you could actually have specific demands for what that actually means and then what people are actually signing on to. So there is a little bit of that in that document, which I'll find and put in the notes. And then the other side of that is I think anyone can draft their own demands. Like I feel that having demands would actually significantly improve people's sign-on to the strike and organizing them. And so there is a group of people in this movement who actually are on the side of, getting started with demands earlier and just drafting them and having fun with it and just being creative. So I'm certainly open to that and willing to even start doing that. Demands and drafting, like drafting demands. And then I think that answered your question. Yeah, check.
I agree with that too. Like even if we don't lock them in till 6 million, it's never too early to have a working document that says this is where we are so far, open to improvement until such time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having just, I mean, we got gotta do something while we're getting along the way there. Of course, we need the main focus is on our building up those local alternatives that can sustain something like a strike for uh for an extended period of time. I assume we just keep going until they give us what we want.
Yes, and there is a lot of discussion regarding all of the local support services, which has to happen at the most local level, including like the farmers markets and just mutual aid and having access to housing, food, services. So that is, in many ways, a key focus of, I would use the term like leadership of GSUS and getting focused on organizing locally to make that happen. I feel like it also creates a dualistic, like I just love coming back to this concept of education and streamlining information. And I find that when you do both of those things, you're talking both about, okay, the initial introduction to GSUS and what the strike is, and then you're simultaneously talking about, okay, organize community events and activities on, sometimes there's like a list of 20 different types of community activities that you could do at the local level. And sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming or just a lot of information for people. So, but it's definitely very important, and maybe that should go in the plan exactly where and how and when that happens. Like, put into the plan for when we finalize local support infrastructure. Because I don't think that's actually in the plan right now, so it's kind of like number one. It's like kind of like part 0 in many ways. Part 0. And then for me, another thing that would help me is like doing outreach, doing connection, like getting people involved. At what level is the decision making and the rights of the involvement? So like when we talk about, like you're saying, what was your name? I always forget these things. Story. You were talking about how everything's so different in Texas versus Massachusetts versus other locations. And for me, I'm supportive of democracy and majority rule democracy and consensus-based democracy and make sure everyone has a voice, which means I personally, in my perspective, don't care if someone is against my perspective, which means that they get one vote. And I believe that the majority supports our goals. And if our majority doesn't support our goals, then that's another question to ask. Like, do we support democracy on a larger level? So for example, what that might look like in Massachusetts would be very different than Texas on who is even involved and what their politics are in the context of after the general strike or even during the general strike or before. So, I get concerned, like, let's say you put in 1,000 hours over the next year or so into this. What are your rights as a member, as an individual? How are people just kicked out and or allowed to stay? And for me, that is not clear. And for me, that's a fundamental rights context of organizational decision making. And to not have that be clear, for me, questions my interest in even doing outreach and bringing more people in. So if I go and I talk to a bunch of people who are interested in democracy, and you bring them into this organization, and they put in 100, 200, 1,000 hours, and then they're banned or removed, with no oversight or say about it, how does that all work, right? Right now, it's it's not very transparent. So that's another thing for me that would be extremely helpful.
I have a request of you if you're open to it.
For sure.
Could you write up something about that in the channel called Projects?
Yeah.
There is a thread called Accessibility Renovation Planning.
Yeah.
We have a note about it is a known problem that the server expectations are not clear. Can you add a note that also, like, GSUS expectations in general are not clear, and like clarify, like, say what you said in your own words, address your complaint, put it there, because that's one of the places we're trying to make sure all of that expectations is voiced and transparent, and that it'll get. I mean, I can't promise a timeline because right now it's like a bunch of people doing 30 things.
Yeah.
Everything takes forever, but that's where I would put it to make sure that it does happen.
So let's try to find it. Let's just do it. So accessibility,
Yeah.
renovation, and plan. I don't see it. Renovation. I'm in
It's
projects.
in projects.
Projects. Yeah, I'm in projects. I'm searching. But so do you remember? Oh, here we go.
Here.
Accessibility, renovations, planning. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, and then I'm gonna get the link. Usually the link is right at the top.
Yeah,
Let's see.
and if
Maybe
you
I have
look,
to
it
join
was 225, so that's what, like a week ago-ish, not even. One of my bullet points was unspoken rules and expectations. Like, we know, like, I mean, at least the ones paying attention and talking about it are aware that that's a problem, but further clarity on how to address that and specific steps to take will be helpful and will make it happen faster.
Exactly. Yeah, and this relates also to just like, setting up local chapters, because that is obviously a huge goal. And we ran into scheduling a weekly meeting for local chapter support. There's also the vetting process and all the other details of that. So I think that's sort of in that same context of like, what are the rights and the protocols and the roles within GSUS, and having more clarity of that. Not because I know there's a lot of information of what you can't do. For example, our code of conduct and things like that. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, really good idea for sure. And I'll try to find the link and add that to the notes as well. Oh, here, follow. Awesome. Are you guys still there? Am I hearing you? Okay, good.
Here.
I'm still here.
I'm just thinking about what needs to be said next, and also not wanting to talk too much while you're working. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want. I lose my train of thought so quickly.
Yeah, well, I already have it here in the list of priorities, which is rights for Discord members and GSU members, right?
Yeah.
GSUS members.
If you just for like how I've seen it work so far, and like who the mods are and how they work, there's pretty good accountability. People rarely get banned except for explicit breaches of the code of conduct, and then even then, most of the bans start out as like 1-day bans or 1-week bans, and there's an opportunity to like talk about it and find out why you were removed and when you can come back or what needs to happen to make that possible, or if it's even an option. Like those channels are open for conversation. Just to reassure anyone listening to this recording after, anyone in here, there are, even though it's not transparent, and you're right, like I'm not trying to gaslight you, like you're absolutely right, we need to be more clear about it. It is happening in a way that to me feels fair, even if not transparent. And we'll get more transparent as we move forward, because we're all just like it just suddenly it's going a little viral right now. We're growing very fast.
So fast.
Quicker every couple of weeks. And it's really good, but it's like where we used to have a server half the size and an active population a tenth of the size, suddenly it's like, boom, it's good, it's great, but it's like that's why things feel so chaotic right now. It's busy.
Yes. Look, we have a new person. Let's see if they have any questions or ideas or we want to input. This is, I can't pronounce that. Tungsten. Sundry. Yeah. Sundry. Are you there? You're on mute. If you want to say hi or input any ideas. If you want to just listen, that's fine too. But we want to give at least every person a chance to speak. All right. So, Purple, Crazy, McDuffie, or we can go back to you, Story, as well.
I just want to say, Sundry Tungsten said they don't know how to unmute.
Oh.
If you click on the place where we're chatting, like if you can see the channel list, there's a place where we're chatting where it says recorded meeting. If you click on that area, it should bring something up that has a little microphone button with a line through it. It might also be like a hovering picture of a video or one of our profile pictures.
Yeah.
Depending on if you're
on a phone or on the computer.
Cool. If you type also, I can read. But if you are not able to, if you figure it out, jump in.
Yeah, for sure.
Or if you type something, I'll read it for you. I'll
It
check
just takes
periodically.
time sometimes, for sure. So I think it's also good to kind of just go up over the overall priorities of GSUS, because I think that is very, very important in terms of like setting up local chapters, doing introduction. I think that what you're talking about, like education and streamlining information, is actually really important to GSUS, as well as the technology team and providing support for different groups seems to be a big activity going on. So, yes, all of that. Can you think of other things? But I feel like it's very important just kind of understanding GSUS priorities overall, at least for United States.
Yeah. I think that oh, sorry, if someone else, go ahead, Crazy.
Oh yeah, I was just, of course, you're fine. I was gonna say that I think that definitely the two most important things are definitely education and connecting. That's the two most important things for GSUS, at least right now. Not very many people know where to go, what to do. They're worried. They're trying to do a few things with protests and such, which is good. Not very many people have much background in politics or political organization, and as a widespread solidarity, maybe not solidarity is the correct word, like a widespread, I guess, uniting movement, we need to try and make sure as many people know what they're doing as possible, and because not very many people know what they're doing. Most people are just getting into political organization, so definitely education on how to organize, what actions to take, just some basic political theory, are things that need to be set up and run on a regular basis. And then additionally, as we said, getting local stuff started everywhere we can, because there's only a couple state chapters fully organized right now. We need to, for us who don't have state chapters organized in our states, with myself, we need to start having those meetings, start getting chapters fully organized. We should be encouraging those who don't have something organized in their own state to start reaching out to people and start getting organized themselves. And then once we have, because we don't have very much full infrastructure set up yet, because things are just ballooning up. We're just getting started. So getting those just basic structures of organization is very important.
Yeah, and some of the places, I think Day is from, it's
Chicago.
Either Detroit or Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple areas of the country that are well established with GSUS, working with many different community organizations, with lots of larger and smaller chapters, working, across with each other. And it's kind of, it's working on that micro scale, and this is the point where we need to be expanding it. So, now there were, I think, 2 or 3 states that were pretty well established. Now we have another, I want to say 10 to 12 states that have enough people and are starting to meet each other and starting to get organized. And then a bunch more that are we've got 20 people in their big states and they're spread out. So yeah, it'll be a process. It'll definitely come in waves, and as people figure out what they're doing and they can take advice from what worked last time in other places, change it for their own circumstances, and then teach other people to do the same. And I think we'll get there. As slow as it feels when it's you're checking every day, over the past couple weeks, I feel like we've gotten a lot done, and I'm really excited to see where we go from here. a lot of times new people come in too, and it's their first time protesting, and they're anxious and they're scared because maybe they were less politically aware or less involved, or just like had a level of privilege and comfort where they didn't need to worry as much before, and then suddenly gone, and they feel this like floor drop out from them, and they want to do something right now, and they hear that we're doing something next year or the year after or the year after that, and that scares them. But I think it's important, especially for new folks as they come in, to remind them we're not saying do nothing for 3 years. We're saying meet your local community. We're saying find people that are protesting in your area, go to those protests, meet each other, get involved, start building infrastructure, start communicating. And we're willing to, hold people's hands and introduce people and set up a system of education. And we are going to have those workshops. And it's just unfolding, I think, slower than people want. So just like when people come in, they want to do something right now. I've been trying to remind everyone that it's like urgency is like a capitalist tool, right? It's been urgent the whole time. Things have been rough for someone or for some group or for several groups the whole time we've been a country as the United States. And being able to decolonize means like having that empathy and that solidarity for those other communities when maybe through the 90s and 2000s your privilege kept you pretty comfortable and your family was okay, other people weren't. So it's not a matter of just like defeating Trump and fixing this now. We need to build things for everyone. And there are things to do right now, and there are movements to do right now. And if what you need is to yell into a blowhorn and hold a sign and march on the capital of your state, there are people doing that. Here they are. And here's some books to read in the couple days before that protest. We can make this happen. And I don't know, I'm just really excited to be here. I've been rambling a little bit, but that's sort of what I feel like this is about, right? Is about taking that energy, giving it somewhere to go. Whether it's I need to be on the street marching and yelling, or whether it's I need to be growing food for my community. Yeah.
Beautiful. Very cool. I don't know if Sandiri got a purple crazy mufti, if you want to add anything. And then I'll go after if anyone wants to jump in. So I am definitely extremely excited. I love decentralized organizing. I sort of have this sort of concept that, one decentralized organization is all decentralized organizations because you just link and you connect together. And decentralized democracy, decentralized communications, there's so much that we've barely even touched upon. And I would love, to do more workshops and more things if people are interested. But what I'm most interested about overall for everything is collaborative, I guess just collaborative organizing, right? To like, we all have different ideas. We all have different interests, So let's say we were going to connect every week for the next month or whatever, once a week for an hour or so. What would be the primary focus? What could we actually work on? And for me, when you list all the ideas and then you do some score voting, like you put your name, you put all your ideas, you can prioritize the list of a small group of people to see where the number 1, number 2, number 3 top issues and goals are for the group. And for me, that would be really cool to hear. I think on one side, it's definitely education is very, very important, but education is also very broad. So if education and streamlining was really our top priority, I would say the next step, if we start thinking about next steps and where to go with this, would be to start brainstorming, like what are the different types of education that that are not being provided or that need more work, so that we have, so we continue to narrow the focus and exactly what we want to accomplish and get to work. For me, I feel like overall my goals, especially on the transparency side, is like, having a structure where you have weekly check-ins, and then I'm about working like a little bit every day for people who want to do like work buddy teams and things like that. And then you have your state and local chapters, and you're just slowly connecting everything together. but yeah, so I'm definitely committed to continuing the discussion and continuing to prioritize and seeing where and how things can be evolved, and then also just listening and hearing from people and what their needs and what their goals are in understanding the GSUS. I know some people don't even understand it, and this next meeting will start in like 20 minutes here. If people want to just sit through the introductory meeting, which is a great place to get started. But the main goal is just like getting 11 million people for the United States. If we're looking at bigger coalitions, how do you work across different immediate protests, and how do you get those people involved in the bigger long-term picture of actually strategizing like a shutdown of the system so that it benefits people instead of the billionaire class. And then also looking at the global, indications of what is not limited at our borders. It needs to be addressed on a global level. The website I made for that one is it's general strike global. So that's just kind of looking at the 300 million people that we would need globally. And there's a lot of people in the international group that I'm communicating with that are excited about that and interested in seeing that evolve. And then for me, I'm all about organizing California, organizing San Francisco Bay Area. I also think it would be good for people who are on the West Coast to organize by actual time zone. Because when you're awake at the same times, you're getting up with the sun, and you're going to bed and stuff, there is a more of a connection or similarity and easier to organize. So just people on the West Coast, as opposed to just state by state, like, everybody on the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, California, even some of the other states on either side. I would love to see that evolve as well, to see if people are interested in doing breakout group on that. But those are just some other ideas in terms of next steps. Check.
Do we have a list of things people want to focus on as priorities? And I think it can be like a top 10 this week and broken into like categories, because there's so many people here and there's so many, so many hands make light work. Not everyone needs to do everything, and some people have capacity to do multiple things. It'd be great to be like, here's the calendar of protests that are, in your area or national, like per region or a national list. That could be a priority. I think the transparency, or at least like the clarity of expectations and how decision making happens is super important. And we can, if you want to have that conversation throughout this next week, we can work up some framework of questions that need answering and decisions that need to be talked about. But like, I think that is a really good place to start. Because people, it's what comes up again and again, right? What are the things that we keep having to address and re-explain, and how can we stop having to re-explain that and say, here's a resource we already made? It's there, it's easy, it's accessible to you. You can do everything that you all your questions are answered here, and if you have more after you look at that, go from there. Anything that saves us from repeating ourselves and gets us moving forward instead of in a loop, I think is helpful. That to me is like when we're deciding how to prioritize, it's like, where are the bottlenecks? Where are we getting slowed down? Where are we getting stressed out? And what does the community really need? What'll help the most people the fastest this week, right? And also like that will also potentially take away from some longer term projects that will never be as immediate of a need or serve as many people, but they're still entirely necessary. So like there needs to be some oversight and some feedback into how that decision making goes too. I don't know. I'm sort of babbling again. I'll stop talking.
No, it's perfect. Thank you so much. So just to respond really quick on two things. One, Political Revolution has an amazing website. I think it's pol-rev.org or something like that. I'll try to find the link. Obviously, one thing is just organizing all the links, and there's the link tree, but then there's like finding the specific information that someone needs at that time. So getting better at that is going to be key. And then the list of issues. There is a list of issues, and I'm adding these to this priority list right here. The list of issues. The Political Revolution website has literally every single local protest across the entire country. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it, so it's really cool. And then the list of issues, there's a sub communication. I think it's in the strategy team, but it goes over every single issue for outreach that has come up in the last like couple months. So it's really cool to have that list going and to keep it updated so that people have access to a list, an organized list. It looks like we have a new person. We have Complicit. Do you want to say hi? And if you have any issues or questions, ideas, anything you want to add? Just like to hear from this person.
I just joined because I saw you were on and presenting, just seeing what was going on.
Yeah, we are just doing a chat, and talking. This is a publicly recorded session, which is exciting for me. And basically, there's going to be another session starting in 13 minutes, that's going to be on the group meeting session for just like the overall intro. So, but here we're really just getting into ideas, issues, priorities, topics, questions, and just kind of brainstorming. So if you had anything that you wanted to add, like what are you excited about? Why are you here? What interests you? Where are you from? Do you have questions, ideas, priorities? We've been talking a lot about education and streamlining information and just structure and all the different decision making, everything. So
yeah, I live just outside of Chicago. Been obviously upset about all the things that have been happening in the past month or so. Obviously we feel that the real solution to some of the there's a lot of issues and it's hard to unpack them all, but the whole working class, working poor, everybody's a patient, one disaster away from bankruptcy and being poor, and it's a very untenable and unsustainable way to live.
I have a question.
We'd like to do something about that. So, we have been like trying to talk to some of our like local representatives. We've got a local mayoral election coming up, and we're very interested in the candidates, though none of them really are saying whether they're Republican or Democrat now, which is kind of interesting. So we're just trying to start local, trying to be involved in whatever protests we can find, and been looking at this general strike thing to try and be part of some of those protests if we can.
So I have a quick question for you. So Chicago happens to be one of the places that has an active local chapter. Have you connected and communicated with them, or just curious?
I have not.
You have not. Okay. Well, that's really good to know.
I've been lurking in the Discord for about a week now.
Yeah. Awesome. Very interesting. Yeah, it would be really cool.
Can I speak for a bit?
Yeah. Go next. Go for it.
Hi. I'm Tungsten. We were talking about a lot, and there's a lot I wanted to respond to, but I didn't. I'm a little shy sometimes. I want to say in terms of like immediate priorities, and I think I've also been in this Discord for about a week, so I'm kind of on Complicit's level in terms of how long I've been here. I think something that could be beneficial if we are growing very rapidly, as you guys have been saying, is having a meeting explicitly kind of walking people through what it means to join JSU, right? Like, it wasn't until yesterday that I heard about, like, the local chapters, and I was just trying to find, like, what was there for my city, for my state, for my area, and that was just hard. Like, and I do think it's, like, an access to information thing, and ultimately, the best conveyor of all of this information are the people in the community. So I know, I'm looking at the calendar right now, I know we have, like, 2 meetings a week. One is in 10 minutes, and one is on Wednesday for political education. But if we are growing rapidly, rather than facing all of these questions, like, and kind of having the same questions asked over and over again, having a meeting where it's specifically like, hey, if you're new, come to this meeting. We'll walk you through Discord. There's a lot to look at. We'll walk you through, like, what the chapters are, like, what the different, like, decentralized groups that we're working with are. Here's the questions you might have, and just kind of where just walking people through this, because I think a lot of people are eager to act, eager to join. They want to do in-person things. They want to get active online, and they just don't know how. And like, we don't need to provide the answers, and we can't really for everybody. But in terms of just accessibility, just having a meeting where someone can walk people through and be like, hey, there's a lot going on, let me break it down for you for a moment. I think if we are like growing rapidly, like I was looking at the Stray card, it's like hundreds of people every day. I think that would benefit us a great deal.
Is this going to be your first welcome meeting, Tungsten? The 1 in 10 minutes?
Yes.
Cool.
And
that kind of covers some of the answers to your questions. I agree that they should happen more often, but again, part of it is like, you know, the process of getting people to where they're comfortable running those meetings involves a lot of self-motivation, and we're, you know, there are requests for like people that want to lead these sort of things, and we're trying to work on a mentor program to get people who are ready to walk through new people with questions, right, and are officially like, you know, can answer those questions accurately. I think the welcome meeting will clear some of that up for you, but I agree they should happen more often, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty easy to, if there's something that you do want to talk about, some event that you want to do, once you've, you know, gained a greater understanding of what GSUS is all about, I'd say definitely agree. The intro meeting is very helpful for getting that basic understanding. Like literally, me and a few others just started event for watching like political theory videos on Tuesdays. Like the big thing is just starting it. I find that to be the hardest part about doing anything here or other sort of organizing. I don't live in a place with very many politically active people, so just starting things is the hardest part, and that's something that I agree the sort of mentorship program would be great to help with getting people on that track of just beginning to do things.
So in the notes for this session, I did add the mentorship program. That's a really cool idea that I added there. Overall, for me, there's two things. One, there's the welcome meeting that happens once a week. And I think it's a good session. I go every week and I learn something new every single time. And I just keep going, I'll keep going. Obviously, if people want to continue in this session, I prefer recorded and transparent sessions. So, but also down, if people are done here, I'm going to jump over to the other group and listen in with Day and listen in to all the discussion. You know, sometimes there's 100 or more people there. It's insane. But in terms of just like getting organized, two things. One is just like, if we are recording and we're documenting, I categorize things into the idea of just like general recordings or like raw recordings and information, and you can kind of start indexing them and getting a little bit here and there. But then you can also create more targeted recordings, which would be like a specific topic, and you start and stop the recording and have specific information that people can come back to over and over. That's actually more professionally done. The other part is just like the number of people in the meetings. When you have 100 people in a meeting, it can be a lot. And having like smaller breakout groups or groups where you can have more of a personal connection, I think is important. And then whether or not you have a small group or a big group, once you have a group of people or any single person who's willing to come to a meeting, getting them to the next meeting is so important. And for me, that's a major gap, where you come to the group introductory meeting. And so, you know, I'm saying, okay, we could come here next week and we should split up if there's more than 10 people. But from there, it's like, what is the next step? What is the next meeting? If there's not a local chapter, right now it's kind of like an empty space. There's not a lot of places to go. And so we could have kind of like, hey, here's the introductory meeting. Okay, here's your next basic, you know, information meeting. And then maybe there's another one where it's a little more interactive. Anyways, there's some ideas in terms of like how to connect people through the dots instead of like you come to the intro meeting and then it's just like good luck, right? And so I think we do lose some people there, and it would be interesting even having the data of like how many people are coming to the introductory meetings and how many people are actually going to other sessions and other local chapters and things like that, so that we have some data. But overall, just having more smaller sessions where people can interact and collaborate on any level, I think would be really helpful in general. Check.
I'm gonna hop over to the other channel, but thank you so much, Jay, and for everyone else for questions and feedback and participating here together. We want the same things. We just have different methods of getting there and different personal priorities and different experience, and we can all share that, and it's gonna be so cool. And it's hard work, and it's scary, and all that is so valid, but like, we're gonna do it. So, welcome. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Awesome.
Bye.
See you later. Would anyone else like to add any things? I'm also willing to stick around longer if people want to. But let's just go through the list.
I
Complicit?
thought of one quick suggestion
Yeah.
that might be a good resource to have. Maybe a list of like talking points and like common arguments to make to people, or even like a list of post or like artwork and posters that you can print out and leave hanging around, post them in your grocery store, your library, or wherever, things like that.
Totally. The best place to get that kind of stuff is under the resources section. So there's the resources in the Learning Center area. There are definitely resources available. But I want to add that as a topic because it's very important to get that organized and accessible to people. So basically just having talking points and posters and materials, right, for outreach. Yeah, super duper important. Anything else, Complicit?
I'm gonna head over to the other meeting.
Okay.
It's good to get my basis on that meeting and
Yes.
get a solid grasp of what we're doing the next hour. So
Exactly.
Thanks. Bye.
And I might be around afterwards too, but thank you. So Complicit, McDuffie, any last things you want to say, or do you have anything else you wanted to go over, or otherwise
No,
I think we're good.
like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what all's going on here and see, where I can help and how I can help and what the various people are saying and doing. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, in my perspective, what I see is obviously my perspective is slightly different because I'm big time into trying to get transparency, which can be difficult, especially with this kind of group, which is very, very privacy orientated. But I think overall, the two things I see a lot of is that you have a lot of new people, and then you have a lot of people who are overwhelmed and just like doing a lot, So you get that kind of back and forth, with trying to find a balance, and working with new people who really want to get into something and start working on a project or working on a new idea. And then obviously the leadership is very big into getting the local chapter started, which is not easy to get a local chapter started, even for experienced organizers, right? So,
Yeah.
But yes.
And the thing to remember, though, is not everybody wants to be a leader or an organizer or, dedicate a large portion of time and energy to it. Sometimes they just want to show up and be that extra body that's showing up just to, so everybody's going to have their different comfort levels of involvement.
Yeah, that's one thing that we all agreed on in one of the discussions for the supporting the state chapters is that the actual needs for starting a new chapter is so different from when you send people to an existing chapter. And I would say I would actually put a number on what you're talking about, that 90% of people are like not interested in starting a new chapter, or don't have the skills or don't have the time. And then you have that small amount of people who are willing to start a new chapter, so it's like 90% of our resources and our time and our structure should be there to support people who aren't going to be starting local chapters. And then you have the very small amount of time going into the people who are going to be getting the local chapters started. And then you're trying to, once the local chapter is started, then you're pulling all the people who are waiting for them to get started into the local chapters. Because when you send someone directly into a local chapter, it can be a little bit. I mean, if there's nothing there, they just fall through the crack. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So that is definitely something. Like for me, this is the first meeting that I've personally had where it's just like kind of reconnecting and thinking and just having ideas in a way that is not just the introductory, more of a lecture. And like the introductory session is very, very lecture like, and sometimes there's so many people.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
And
of course
like
not.
I said, a lot of people just they're probably coming here because they know they want to do something, but they don't know what to do.
Yes.
So getting them pointed in a direction is probably a great start.
And there are people who want to really, really, just yell and scream, and they come here and then they realize, okay, this is a multi-month, multi-year project. And so then they go off to, 5051 or one of the other groups in the broader coalition. So I'm really interested in connecting and supporting the bigger coalition. So, because it's really all one, for me, it's really all one decentralized organizing vision. There's people who are going to protest now who are upset now, and we want to connect them into what will happen later. And it's all part of the same idea and vision. It's like, how do you make those connections? And there's a lot happening in coalition building on the private level, but it's just like getting a coalition collaborative effort on the public level as well, so that people can get involved in it and know more what's going on is important to me. And so that's one of the projects that I'm working on. But yeah, so we are at the time. Usually they start a little late, so I don't know if you wanted to switch over. If you want to stay
I'll
here, I
probably
could talk all day. But
All right, thanks.
awesome. I'll talk to you. I'll be back next week, and we'll remind people about next week. But we just keep going little by little. You take care.
Good.
Ciao. So let's stop the recording.